The more we tolerate, the less respect others tend to have for us. This is not merely my opinion. As one wise person stated, what you do not acknowledge controls your life. If you suppress feelings of devaluation for an extended period and experience discomfort within your soul, it is not a sign of patience or virtue, but rather an act of self-deception. Ultimately, such circumstances can lead to resentment or depression. This is not just a theory, it reflects a reality where gratitude often remains unspoken and kindness is taken for granted. People tend to exploit this kindness, diminishing its value. However, it is time to put a stop to this behavior. Kindness is only meaningful when it is appreciated, and when it isn't, continuing to give becomes counterproductive. When a Virgo feels that her efforts are undervalued, she begins to distance herself. She doesn't require grand expressions of gratitude, but it is essential for her to feel that her contributions matter. If someone is capable of showing attention but chooses not to do so towards a Virgo, that is a conscious decision. As a result, she would prefer to direct her energy toward those who truly value her and reciprocate appropriately. It is vital for everyone to feel acknowledged for their efforts. If this does not occur, it is possible to manage without a Virgo's presence. She will cease to be available. She will stop offering emotional support, gifts, and tokens of affection. She will no longer initiate communication or reach out first. Often, people only begin to appreciate those in their lives after they lose them. It mirrors the sentiment in the song. What we have, we do not appreciate. When we lose it, we cry. If you perceive this as manipulation, think again. This is merely how a Virgo establishes boundaries. If a person truly values her, they will certainly feel her absence. If they do not, she is simply making space for someone who will genuinely appreciate her. When a Virgo senses that she is being devalued, she may start to nitpick over trivial matters. She will become more aware of shortcomings that typically go unnoticed. This behavior is not intended to offend or insult. Rather, it stems from a desire to reclaim her boundaries and restore her self-respect. Unlike fire signs that react explosively when feeling devalued, a Virgo tends to withdraw into her thoughts. She is not prone to hysteria. Rather than displaying overt emotional reactions, she becomes quiet and reserved. A Virgo making a scene and hurling dishes is a rare sight. The truth is that individuals of this sign possess remarkable patience and exercise impeccable control over their emotions. Unlike Aries, who may erupt in a fit of shouting, or Gemini, who might engage in a tumultuous argument, the composed Virgo will quietly listen to complaints and calmly navigate the situation. The more upset they become, the further they tend to distance themselves. Virgos already understand the rules of the game. If they feel devalued, it reflects the blind spots of others, not their own shortcomings. One of their strategies is a gradual withdrawal. They will slowly begin to disengage, participating in fewer conversations. Virgos recognize that the more we cling to people and attempt to explain our feelings, the less impact it has. Few people truly listen to words. Only actions resonate. Moreover, in our culture, those who assert their boundaries and self-respect are often labeled as touchy or overly sensitive. This is an attempt to belittle someone who dares to stand up for themselves. By creating distance, a Virgo demonstrates that such treatment is unacceptable and that a person risks losing them without the need for conflict, lectures, or endless discussions. One day, they may simply begin to fade from your life. In the past, they may have been the first to reach out with, "How are you?" But now, they will wait for the other person to take the initiative. They previously suggested meetings, but now they will allow others the opportunity to extend invitations. If you have a habit of venting to them about life's troubles, you will find that they now avoid such topics. They are not your emotional crutch or personal therapist. Another intriguing question arises. Can Virgos seek revenge? Virgos' calmness should not be mistaken for timidity. While they may not display aggression immediately, their measured approach makes them adept at subtle forms of revenge. Think of the ancient Chinese torture of water dripping steadily. Continuous drops can drive a person to madness. Virgos may not engage in open conflict, but by the time you realize they are strategically manipulating events behind the scenes, it may be too late. Endless paperwork, complicated bureaucratic hurdles, and minor annoyances will become part of your everyday reality. They have a knack for making you feel the consequences in ways that are exhausting and relentless. Another noteworthy characteristic of individuals born under this sign is their comfort with solitude. They are not afraid of being alone. Virgos are autonomous and self-sufficient individuals. They do not experience loneliness in the traditional sense. Instead, they know how to keep themselves occupied, utilizing their time effectively. This trait is beneficial for Virgos, as they dislike idleness and actively seek to expand their repertoire of useful skills, experiences, and intriguing ideas to engage their sharp intellect. This characteristic allows them to free themselves from the need for constant validation from others. Virgo's independence is not a weakness. It serves as a test for those who fail to appreciate them. Can they live without your attention? Certainly. But how will you cope with their indifference? Another aspect of Virgo behavior is their tendency toward passive-aggressive communication. Frustration may bubble to the surface through passive-aggressive remarks. Thoughtful Virgos, who usually express themselves with care, might resort to sharp comments and sarcasm to avoid open confrontation. Instead of directly stating, "I'm upset," you might hear expressions like, "Sure, don't worry, I'll just do it myself," or "I didn't realize that was necessary." These phrases convey their discontent without explicitly revealing the underlying issues. This ambiguous behavior can confuse others, particularly if they do not grasp the source of Virgo's frustration. When the typically warm tone of a Virgo suddenly becomes harsh, it is a clear indication that their patience is wearing thin. Virgos understand that loneliness is not merely the absence of people, but rather a lack of understanding and connection. If, after your quiet departure, the other person shows no fear of loss, it suggests they have long distanced themselves emotionally from you. At this point, you have a choice. Continue to pursue them or seek those who are willing to meet you halfway. Relationships are a two-way street, and Virgos are not inclined to shoulder the entire burden alone. This raises an interesting question. Can a Virgo leave permanently? Individuals of this sign tend to analyze situations carefully. If they have decided to end a relationship, the likelihood of a return is extremely low. Virgos prefer to learn from their mistakes and move forward, leaving the past behind. They value order and stability and do not return to what has already been irreparably fractured. Thank you for reading. I invite you to share in the comments how you handle relationships with those who devalue you.